Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be setting up my March bullet journal spreads. If you're not already, I would really appreciate if you subscribe. But for now, let's get right into setting up my March cover page. One of my goals for this year was to branch out with my artwork style. I really usually stick to the same style. I do a lot of simple doodles, which I love that style, especially for bullet journaling, but I've just wanted to kind of challenge myself and try some new things. So I have a more detailed cover page this month than I normally do. So I've gone ahead and traced out this comfy window seat. I don't know what you call that. It's one of those big windows that has like a comfy little cushion and some pillows. I've always wanted one of these in my house. It's one of my, house wish list items. So if you can't have it, you just draw it in your bullet journal. So now I'm going over all of my pencil lines with my Tombow Mono drawing pen. As always, I'll have all my supplies that I use linked in the description box. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish getting this all outlined. I did want to let y'all know one of my biggest challenges with making this cover page was definitely getting the perspective right. Kind of like what I was saying earlier, I really stick to simple flat doodles, and since this is more of a three-dimensional picture, I had to really think about where the angles would be to make it look like I wanted it to look. I definitely had to look at a few different reference pictures of window seats to kind of see how you make it look the right way, if that makes any sense. It took me a long time to sketch it out with pencil, but I think it worked out. I think you can tell that that's what it's supposed to be. I'm really actually proud of myself for taking the time figuring it out, because I kind of wanted to give up when I first started, but it's part of the fun of trying something new. Alright, now I'm adding this little arch up here to make it look like it's really a little cut out nook in your room. And then I'm going to go down here and start drawing in all of my pillows, because nothing's comfier than having a whole bunch of pillows. And then on the other side, there's a few books laying there, because wouldn't this just be the perfect place to curl up with a book and just look out your window and have a nice little afternoon. Now I'm just going to go ahead and draw in the cushion for the seat and add a few details to the part underneath it, and then I will show y'all how I'm going to color everything in. So instead of coloring everything in with my Tombows this month, I've decided to do a little bit of watercolor. So I'm just taping off the edges of the windows so that way I can do big brush strokes and not worry about getting on the frame of the window. I'm just using some washi tape to do that. And then now I have my little palette, and I'm actually going to use my Tombows for watercolor. If you don't know, you can use Tombow Dual Brush pens for watercolor. I don't have a lot of watercolors, so this is perfect because I can get the colors that I want. So you'll see I'm blending together 3 different colors, and then I'm going to use my Tombow water brush pen, add some water into that, and just blend it up. I think this is going to be the perfect blue color to have my sky. Originally, I was going to do a night sky and then draw in some stars, but after I started going on with this blue color, I really liked that light blue with a little bit of white. Like, it was just a nice, pretty day outside, so I just went with that instead. And I am not a watercolor artist by any means, but what I'm doing for this is I just start with a decent amount of color up top, and then I just drag it down, but I make sure to leave some gaps and some space in there so that some white of the page shows through to give it that sky look, but also looking out of a window, a little bit of glare on the glass. So I'm going to let that dry for a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and write March at the bottom here. So after it dried for a bit, I wanted to go back in with just a little bit more color. I wanted it just to look a little bit more blue and maybe get a little bit of color at the bottom. So I'm just doing the same technique that I did before, just very lightly brushing across, not too much rhyme or reason to it. And now I'm going to peel off the washi tape, which isn't that the best part, is just peeling it off and seeing those nice clean lines from your painting. Now I'm going to use a nice neutral color for the frame of the window. I didn't want to leave it just white, but I also didn't want to do a dark brown wood color. So I thought this ivory color would be perfect just to give it a little bit of something. And I didn't tape it off for this. I'm just going to be careful to keep it in between the lines. And I did make sure to let the blue paint dry before I started to do this, otherwise some of the blue might have bled into the frame, and I didn't want to mess up those clean lines that I had from the window. Now I'm going in and coloring in the bottom part of my window seat. I'm trying to keep it kind of not just a solid layer of color, but the truth is when you watercolor in the Archer and Olive notebooks, the paper can handle the water. That is not a problem. You can totally do watercolor, but it absorbs it so quickly. It's hard to get that real watercolor look to it. You know, like on watercolor paper, it's thicker, but it doesn't just absorb it so quickly. So a lot of times it does end up looking like a flat color, but that's okay. You know, I just have to appreciate that it looks differently when you use different paper. Now I'm going to go ahead and paint in the pillows and the books. Alright, so I have finished up with my March cover page. I was happy with how it looked. I decided to let it dry overnight and then come back and finish the rest of my March spreads the next day. But then all hell broke loose. We had an ice storm in South Louisiana. I did not have power for 3 days. It was freezing in my house. Couldn't film anything. So 4 days later, here we are finishing up my March bullet journal spreads. So you guys will just have to forgive me, but I created my quote page while the electricity was out. But basically I used a piece of watercolor paper and I just did a simple wash of that same blue color, and then I put my quote on top of that. And then when I went to tape it into my journal, I decided it looked a little too plain, so I went ahead and put a piece of craft paper beneath it and just glued the whole thing in there. Really happy with how it turned out, and it was a lot of fun creating that piece. If you noticed when I flipped my cover page, I actually glued my cover page to a blank sheet behind it, so that way I wouldn't have to do my monthly spread on the wavy back side of it. Now, the watercolor doesn't bleed through at all. You can't see it. It just gets that little crinkle to it like any watercolor does. So I just glued 2 pieces together, and now I have a clean slate for my monthly spread. And I am setting up my monthly spread with the same layout that I did last month. Each box is 5 by 6 dots. That leaves space for a border on the top of each box. I really liked the way that this looked last month, so I'm sticking with it again. So I'm just going over everything with my pen right now, and then I'll finish up with the rest of it. Since my cover page was so detailed this month, I decided to keep my monthly spread really simple. So instead of doing any hand lettering or calligraphy for my little March header up here, I'm just drawing this little box and I'll just write March in it. I actually really like how this is turning out. It's very clean, very simple, but it's pretty at the same time. Now I'm just writing in the days of the week, and then I will write in my tasks and goals boxes over here. Sometimes I do 3 boxes, sometimes I do 2, but this month I just figured I'd stick with a little to-do list and then a little goals list. So as I am finishing up my monthly spread, I'm just adding in some color to all the borders here, and then I'll add a little bit of washi tape up top. But I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm not going to be setting up any weekly spreads in this video. I will be doing that in a separate video this month, most likely next Friday. Let me know if y'all like that, if you like having it separate. It's a little bit easier, I think, editing, just to be able to do cover page, quote page, monthly spread, and then I can do quite a few weekly spreads, kind of give y'all a few ideas. So trying that out this month. Again, let me know in the comments what y'all prefer, but I'm just putting a little bit of washi tape up here, and then that is going to be it for my March setup. Thank you guys so much for watching. I had a lot of fun creating these spreads this month. I hope y'all like it, and if you're not already, I would appreciate if you subscribe, maybe leave me a comment, let me know what your theme is going to be for March, and I will see y'all soon.